Hi there, my name's Jill. I'm 21 and I'm currently studying medicine in a wee town in Scotland called St Andrews. When I'm home, I attend Trinity in Cloghy, and today I would just love to tell you what the Lord has done in my life. At the young age of 6, I became a Christian. I remember sitting with my sister, who was 13 at the time, and understanding that I wanted to go to heaven after earth. And to do that, I needed to ask Jesus to enter into my heart, and he would forgive me for my sins. Looking back, it is amazing to see how God used my sister to bring me to him, and I'm forever thankful for that. Growing up from that point, I went to church, listened to Bible stories, went to Christian camps over summer, was part of the CU at school, and just generally a pretty good child. Later on in my secondary school years, I remember struggling. I struggled with feeling insecure, I worried about everything, I was filled with anxiety all the time. Then around the age of 16, I lost a close uncle and was dealing with grief over the next few years. From the outside, it may have looked like I had it all together, but I had so much deep hurt inside of me, I didn't know who or what to turn to. From the age of about 10, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. My uncle suffered with a lung condition from as long as I could remember, and I used to walk to his house every day when I got home from school to check he was okay, as he lived on his own. I remember when we went through the difficult process of him dying that I felt a deep desire within me to pursue medicine, because I wanted to help people in desperate situations such as this and walk with families through this. I don't know where my uncle is now, but I continue to trust that God is good and faithful, that he is a fair judge, and that he is sovereign above all things. I find these few years very tough. Grief is something that affects everyone differently, and although I didn't outwardly admit it at the time, or even realise that I was struggling, I really was. Throughout this time, I started to apply to several different universities to study medicine. As medicine is quite competitive to get into, I applied to 4 different universities, inwardly, desperately hoping that Queen's and Belfast would accept me, because I was such a homebird and didn't want to have to leave home. However, God had other plans. I got rejected from everywhere apart from St Andrews in Scotland, and so I set off in September 2018 to study here. How thankful I am to God that I am here. He has provided me with a church, family, and great friends that have sought to guide, support, encourage, and challenge me throughout my time here. Medicine is quite a heavy and tough subject to be involved with, but God has taught me the need to seek him in everything, the need to rely on him and trust him with my future. I have a peace that God has me where I'm meant to be, and I know that as long as I surrender all to him, he will continue to guide me and place me wherever he needs me to be in the world. I've always loved to travel, and I knew that I would love to do a mission trip at some point. So back in September 2018, when I first moved to Scotland, I rather flippantly prayed that an opportunity would open up if God wanted me to go somewhere for him. Several days later, my friend Joanna texted me without me ever saying to her about my desire to pursue mission, to see if I wanted to join her on a 1-month trip to Swaziland, Africa, during the summer of 2019. To undertake 2 weeks of medical work followed by 2 weeks of sharing the gospel in underprivileged areas alongside prisons, rehab centres, orphanages, schools, and this was with an organisation called Challenge Ministries. I couldn't say no when she asked, especially because I had asked God for this. What an unforgettable month it was. There are so many beautiful moments from that trip, one of which was when we went to the men's prison. It was such a surreal experience. Picture this. We, 4 men and 6 women from the team, went into the area of maximum security in the prison, into a room where about 250 prisoners sat in plastic chairs in matching brown pyjamas in front of us. There were 2 prison guards to be seen, carrying no weapons or protection. One was sitting on his phone at the back, and the other one chatted and joked to Gary, our leader. I felt so uneasy about the situation, and remember thinking if only Mum could see me now. But as we started to worship with them, both in their language and in ours, I remember being overwhelmed with emotion as we all began to worship our Creator God together. After 2 hours of worship and a talk, Pastor Timothy, who was Swazi and who brought us around Swaziland, asked in Siswati if anyone wanted to put their trust in Jesus, and if they were serious about this, to come up to the front and make this commitment in front of their peers. 5 men stood up, walked to the front, and on that day 5 more lives were added to the kingdom of Jesus. These men had committed the most unforgivable crimes, but God didn't say no to them. He forgave them and offered them a new life in Him. Isn't this so beautiful? God offers this to everyone, despite their past. No one is ever too far from God to be welcomed back into His arms. There are so many other stories that I could tell you about this trip, about redemption, about deliverance from life-threatening situations, about healing. I'm not someone that is usually swayed easily. I like background information to everything. I need to have evidence and facts before I can believe. As we spent time with different people in Swaziland and heard more and more of their stories, I got all the evidence I needed to know that God is real. He is alive and working today. If you want to hear more about my trip, please get in touch with me, and I'm so happy to share it with you. Life is hard at the moment. The world is not how it is meant to be, how God had planned it to be. We don't know what we are going to be told tomorrow or the next day. If there's one thing that the coronavirus pandemic has taught me, is that there is nothing in this earth that we can fully rely on. That is why I'm so glad I can cling to Jesus and my faith in Him. He promises to never leave me nor forsake me, that when I draw near to Him, He will draw near to me, and that when I feel weary and burdened, He will give me true rest when I put my trust in Him. Right now, I'm trusting that God is a faithful Father. He wants every part of my life, and so I entrust that to Him. I want to be fully submerged in His plan for my life. Nothing else in this world satisfies me when I am not satisfied in Him. I want to leave you with a question to ponder. Do you have this feeling in your heart that longs for something greater than this world can offer? I want to share with you now a short clip that I took when I was in Swaziland. And it's when we sat with some ladies involved from the Women's Rehab Centre. They shared their stories of how God had delivered them from desperate situations of abuse, some near close to death. They sing with a deep sense of conviction that they won't settle for less while on this earth. Will you?